Use app.
You're
Live.
welcome.
Internet.
Welcome. Okay. Wow, that was loud. So we are back for another Strat Fan Forum football show. Today we're focusing on the SOMIFA playoffs.
More specific.
Oh, no. Wrong sound.
That's what happens when you lose. At the end of the game goes gong, and then you get really pissed off, and you punch your screen. The guy missed a 2-9 and 12 field goal.
Hey, that happened.
Strat should build in a soundboard, and you can click things to taunt your opponent when he's not doing well.
They do have a end zone sound. We could put one of these in there. So.
Oh, nice.
So who are you going to choose for the SOMIFA playoffs wild card round?
I feel like when you do that drum roll, getting ready to execute somebody, it's like a firing squad.
Yeah, it is.
It's a little like that. So anyway, guys, this is our SOMIFA wildcard show. We were going to do a whole playoff show, and we still may, but we're a little pressed for time, and guys are getting ready to play their wildcard games. So we figure let's start with the wildcard games, and then maybe after that we can go to the quarterfinal. The quarterfinals, if you're a World Cup fan, which maybe you are, maybe you aren't. This year, 10 teams have made the SOMIFA playoffs. This is really for the SOMIFA audience, but if someone else is listening, they should probably do something else with their time, but that's okay. 10 teams made the playoffs. There are pizzas here. There are 6 buys. Okay, interesting year in SOMIFA. You had a whole bunch of teams that went between 6-10 and 9-7. As a matter of fact, you had 14 teams out of 24 that went between 6-10 and 9-7. No one won fewer than 4 games. Only 3 teams won more than 11 games. Only 4 teams won more than 10 games. So that
it's a very well-balanced league, full of parity, full of good coaches, and there should be some close matchups in the playoffs.
Well, there should be. The wild card round is actually pretty unusual for a wild card round. There are only 5 men, 5 franchises that have won a SOMIFA championship. Okay, and 4 of them are squaring off in the wild card round.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a nice one. That's a good little pull there. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, but yeah. I spend too much time looking at stuff.
4 coaches. Who do we have? We
got the number 10 seed, St. Louis Rams, coached by Wayne Unruh. He's going to get unruly on you. I
think it's Unruh.
Unruh? I like saying Unruh. It sounds more menacing.
Could be. But
plus it goes with my joke of him getting unruly on you.
Gotcha. He is one of SOMIFA's very best coaches.
It's like Joe Theismann. It used to be Theismann, but to make it work, you had to change the pronunciation.
Tony Dorsett instead of Tony Dorsett.
I don't know about that. Oh, okay.
That's very true story.
But I'm dominating.
Dorsett is really how you're supposed to say it, I guess.
Yeah, but I'm selfishly over talking you. So why don't you continue what you were saying?
So we have, you said, so Wayne Unruh at Buffalo, who is coached by
Scott, who is the defending champion. There was that team that was built for many years and was always had a great squad, but never quite got the job done, even when they had some great records and did advance far in the playoffs at least once. Scott took that team over, I don't know, a year or 2 ago, and with that vintage Adrian Peterson card last year, was able to win the championship. So you got St. Louis Rams 9-7 at the Buffalo Bills 10-6. That's your first wild card game. The Rams can be said to have overachieved. This is not a team on paper that I think even Wayne would claim was ready for the playoffs. But when you have a real good coach and stuff like that, you can pull this off. Let's look at Wayne's regular season performance in my Strat file. This team only outscored the opposition by a total of 4 points.
Wow.
I
remember. I think I played him during the year, and it was not Wayne's best team. He always coached them very well, but the talent level was not up to what it's been before.
No, absolutely not. There was a Seattle victory way back in week 1 over the Rams, 34-17. The only game that the Rams lost that block as they got out to a 3-1 start. I played the Rams in the same block and I got crushed, 34-13. That was a game in which Andrew Luck was injured early second quarter. Michael Vick came in and in three-quarters of action did manage to complete one pass, which was enough to do my team. As you look at other victories and losses, he beat the Bengals 24-14, lost to the Texans 28-14. Looking for other playoff teams, lost to Tampa Bay 2013. Tampa Bay was 11-5. Lost to NFL Ed 35-17. I don't see a lot of wins here against winning teams. As a matter of fact, looks like I'm the only winning team that he beat all season. So that might not bode well for this playoff matchup against Buffalo. I mentioned that St. Louis is only +4 in points differential. The Bills were +100. So if you go by that type of thing, it could be a tough afternoon for the Rams. But as you mentioned, Wayne is an excellent coach. I have mentioned this before, and maybe he's getting embarrassed by me saying it. I believe that he won a Snarl title with like the 1968 or 69 St. Louis Cardinals. Not a team that leaps out in memory as one of the all-time greats.
Right, and he's done his SOMIFA title was with was it with Schaub or was it with a quarterback before that wasn't that good?
It was probably Schaub because he's had Schaub for a long time.
Yeah, I traded Schaub to him actually. One of my early trades in the league, and I got Julian Peterson, the fine outside linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks. But Wayne was very smart, grabbing a young quarterback before he had actually grabbed the job, and trading away an older six and a pick worked out really well for him.
Yeah, I thought you got a couple of pieces in that deal, so that it worked out well for both teams, but you would remember better than me because it was your deal. Now, obviously, Matt Schaub had many good years. Last year was not one of them, as he is now near the end of his NFL utility. And when you bring up this team in League Manager, you see you've got Matt Schaub as the quarterback. You got 2 6s and a 5 on the offensive line. You got Rashad Jennings and Ben Tate in the backfield. You got Wes Welker. Eric Decker has a tremendous card. Don't go to sleep on. He's maxed out even deep. Michael Floyd, if you can mix him in. He's got Jermichael Finley, and of course the great Charles Clay, who I hope can still play blocking back. Yes, he can. He's a 4-4. But Schaub, I think he has a 10 split pick even on the flat pass. Yes, 2 to 4 on wrong.
The strength of this team is on the defensive line, I think, with Olivier Vernon, Michael Brockers, Lamar Houston, and Jonathan Babineau. Babineau getting the surprise 5 in last year's set. So if he can control Adrian Peterson of Buffalo, and Jay Cutler can provide a couple of interceptions, I could see St. Louis pulling the upset here.
I played the Bills in, I think, my regular season finale, certainly one of my fourth quarter games and not my first game. And Jay Cutler came through. He came through for my team by throwing interceptions and acting like NFL Jay Cutler. And as Scott pointed out at the end of the game, he got cutlered. I did try to pay extra attention to Peterson. You almost want to force him to throw some with Cutler. I think if you look at Buffalo stats, you'll see a lot of flat passing with Cutler. I think he's going a little bit West Coast, doesn't want to take too many chances down the field. Both of these teams running kind of a West Coast offense. You mentioned the front four for the Rams. Wayne has invested a lot of picks on that front four over the years. Lamar Houston and Michael Brockers are fairly high picks. Look on the bench, I see Jonathan Hankins. That's going to help him next year. I see Jonathan Banks in the secondary.
Nope, we're losing Tom, it looks like your signal strength is cutting out a little bit, but let me know when you get back.
Okay.
Oh, it sounds like you're back now. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't realize you lost. What was the last thing you heard me say? I was monologuing.
That Wayne had invested a lot of high picks in the defensive line.
Yeah, Michael Brockers, Lamar Houston. You see Jonathan Hankins on the bench. I mentioned in my preseason preview that Wayne did a good job not throwing away picks, chasing a franchise quarterback, but instead taking solid players. And now you got a team that's I'm looking at look at his defensive bench and some of the starters. You mentioned Brockers and Lamar Houston. You got Jonathan Hankins. You got Jamie Collins on the team. You got Keenan Lewis. You got Jonathan Banks. You got Xavier Rhodes. So there's a lot of talent there. You mentioned Michael Floyd on the offensive side. So, like I said in the preseason preview, this is a team just waiting for a quarterback. He has Ryan Mallett. Maybe he can become decent. Maybe trades for a one-year guy. But this is a team that is probably heading in the right direction. But we're talking about playoffs.
Wayne did a good job in the draft, and he's definitely set up for a strong defense going forward as well as a good offense. But for the playoff game, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I'm concerned. I don't want to think I want to make a prediction on this game. I don't want to offend anybody. I think I'm going to look at the teams and see what could happen.
Why are we doing a preview show if you're not going to make a prediction? Come on now.
Well, I thought we were going to talk about the teams and talk about the matchup. And are you going to make a prediction too?
Absolutely.
Well, what I got to do is I got to find the guy that I want to make a trade with, and I can predict him to win, because that way he won't be mad at me. I don't want to predict.
Let's talk quickly about Buffalo's strengths. They have Adrian Peterson.
Well, let me mention real quick. That ran back seven, not guarded very well. You got 4-5-4 at linebacker, 4-4-6-4 in the secondary. That's going to be a problem, as Buffalo has some good receiving targets. Cutler has some completions and a good flat pass card, and looks like from his stats, Buffalo, he has liked to play West Coast. He did take some shots downfield against me when I was aggressively defending the flat pass, but I think that could be a problem for the Rams.
That could have been a product of your linebackers too. He may not play that way against Wayne, although his linebackers are similar, unfortunately for Wayne.
Yeah, the whole back seven is a problem.
Yeah, it is a problem. So, but when the back seven's a problem, he might want to take more shots. What was your DBs like when he?
I've got the vaunted corner sixes with Darrelle Revis and Joe Hayden.
Yeah, so there you go. So that's why he's going flat against you. I wouldn't be surprised to see him open it up against Wayne and try to beat some of those fours down the field.
Yeah, but if you look at the Buffalo stats for the regular season, you look at the average gain for Cutler and you look at the yardage per catch on those receivers, and it looks more like a guy who has run mostly a West Coast type of an attack. Let me pop those up real quick. Dennis is going to get in trouble at work, so I'm keeping up late. Jay Cutler completed 63.6 with 22 touchdowns, 19 interceptions, 6.9 average gain. Not terribly low, right? It's not like it's in the fives. Randall Cobb averaged 14.5 yards a catch. Larry Fitzgerald, 12.2. Ben Watson, 9.3. Anthony Sherman, 8.5. Adrian Peterson, 7.9. All five of those guys had 47 catches or more. So maybe you're right. Maybe he will take shots with Cobb and Fitzgerald and work underneath with Watson, Sherman, and AP. AP ran for 2,575 yards, 23 touchdowns, and a 6.3 average. So it's definitely a dual threat type of deal. He threw 500. His rush percentage was exactly 50%. He threw 522 passes. He ran the ball 522 times. He had 700 more yards passing, of course, but only had 10 fumbles through 19 picks, 10 fumbles lost. So I feel like
he has a great offensive line, and he has a great defensive line. That's Buffalo's strengths, along with Peterson. That D line up front with Kyle Williams, especially when he goes to a 3-3-5 with Jared Allen outside 5-12-1. Kyle Williams goes from a 6'11" to a 5'11" as a nose tackle, and a defensive end. I guess he's using DeMarcus Ware there. That's the only weak spot. The other ones can really bring the heat, and with high pass rush rating on the linebackers too. What are his sack numbers like? As you're stating all those stats, did he lead the league in stats? Where middle of the pack?
Well, I clicked off the stats for a second to look at his team's rating, as you mentioned. Of course, SOMIFA, you can only go nickel 3-3-5 against a 3 wide or more. But you're right. I mean, you look at that defensive line, 5-6-5-5 on a four-man line with linebackers 5-6-4. Looks like he's well equipped to defend against a flat pass type of attack. The secondary is the weakness, where all short pass defenders are a 4. The free safety is a 6. The extra DB is a 0. So, I mean, is Wayne going to try and throw short passes with Matt Schaub? Does not have a great short pass card, has a lot of picks on the card. I don't want to make if you force me to make a prediction, I'll make one. But if you don't force me to, all right, I won't be a wussy. I'll make a prediction.
I'll
make a prediction. I'm a New Yorker. I can't we'll see out. I've been challenged. I like the Buffalo Bills in this game. I think Wayne, even though both men have won championships, and Scott just won it last year, I just think that the matchup favors the Bills. That front seven on Buffalo can do pretty well against Adrian Peterson. Peterson doesn't have the type of card that gets right is going to go off on you, like last year's card. The linebackers will help deflect some of those flat passes. If Wayne is forced to take shots down the field against Eric Decker and I think AP's on the other team, but anyway, the Buffalo front four is well equipped to stop Wayne's running game. They got good enough linebackers to help against the flat pass. The weakness is those fours in the secondary, but if Wayne wants to throw downfield with Matt Schaub and those interceptions, and Buffalo, as you remarked, has got good pass rush, that doesn't sound like it's going to end too well for the Rams. And on the other side of the ball, a lot of this is I like Jay Cutler and Adrian Peterson a lot better than Matt Schaub and that Ben Tate, Rashad Jennings combination. And Cutler, I think, will do enough. I think his card is better than Schaub's. His flat pass is pretty good. And you can take shots down the field and feel a little safer or more optimistic about getting a completion with Cutler than you would with Schaub. So I'm going to go with both these guys play conservative. I'm going to say an odd score, 27-16 Buffalo.
Very good. I am predicting the upset, and that is solely driven by the fact that I don't want to play Buffalo in the second round. So I think I would be matched up against Buffalo if they win, and that's not a good matchup for me. They're a very good team. I barely beat him the first time around on a long pass to Julius Thomas.
28-27 Seattle.
Yeah, that's a very good team. I'm surprised that he only went 9-7 or 10-6.
10-6.
Yeah, so 10-6. I don't see him. I see him as being capable of making a deep run. You pinpointed him as being one of the top 4 teams entering the league. That hasn't changed despite some bad luck and some close games. So I could see Buffalo going on another championship run to defend their title. But I'm going for Wayne. I think Wayne can take advantage of Jay Cutler's high picks, try to avoid his own high picks. I look for a big game from Rashad Jennings on the ground, and for Wayne to sneak a close one, I'm going to say 21-20. The St. Louis Rams win the game.
In defense of your claim about Buffalo, the Bills started out about how you're surprised he only went 10-6. He started out 7-1. Then he lost 4 games in the fourth quarter, all by a touchdown or less. And he lost a lot of close games in the second half of the season, finished 10-6. He was the second highest scoring team in the league behind your Seattle Seahawks. Dennis scored 514 points with his 13-3 Hawks, who are the number 2 seed. The Bills scored 507 points. Surprisingly, he gave up 407 points, which looks like it is second most among playoff teams, only 2 points behind Minnesota. So that should be an interesting matchup. 2 good coaches. Buffalo's got the personnel advantage. We'll see how that goes. Our other wild card game. I'm sorry, Dennis. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's move on to San Francisco at Houston.
This is a clash of the Titans. Now, the San Francisco 49ers and the Houston Texans in this league are royalty. Okay.
They're like the Pittsburgh Steelers and Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers of SOMIFA. That's
right. Now, Ron Martin, we have to lump him in because he has 3 championships. I don't want to slight Ron, but I'm just saying, Ron's in there too. He's not in the playoffs this year, but he's a royalty also. And the Niners have won 4 championships. Coming into this season, they had a 70.5% winning percentage and 124 wins all time. One game behind them all time is Paul and his Texans. 123 wins, 69.9 winning percentage, 2 championships. Ed's made the playoffs 10 times, is 19-6 in the postseason. Paul's made the playoffs 9 times, is 11-7 in the postseason. And both of these teams now were not the best personnel-wise teams, but it's no surprise that these great coaches were able to get them into the playoffs. No one wants to play NFL Ed in a postseason game, even though the last couple of years have not been kind to the commissioner. But yeah, he's a 9-17. He lost 3 of his last 4. He outscored the opposition by 45 points allowed only 348 points. Defense has seemed to become his forte. Looks like he's about number 8 in the league in fewest points allowed. The Houston Texans were 9-7. Were outscored, as was my team this year. As a matter of fact, we got the Vikings were also outscored. We got 3 teams that attended the playoffs are outscored in the regular season. The Texans were outscored by 21 points. Split their last 4. Paul had a 4-0 start. A 4-0 start. Again, none of those teams they beat me in the playoffs in those 4 games, but still a 4-0 start, and managed to come back from a bad third quarter and split his last 4 to make sure he got into the playoffs, including a win over the Chargers, the Broncos, other teams. Now, I haven't looked at the stats on these teams. You want to look at stats, or you want to look at personnel?
Let's look at personnel. I don't really pay much attention to the stats.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's about the matchups. Yeah, look at the personnel first, then maybe take a look at the stats just for the hell of it. Maybe I don't even always look at the stats. I agree with you, especially if you know the guy.
So Mike Glennon is the quarterback for Ed. He has D'Angelo Williams as his running back, along with Bilal Powell and Shane Vereen. He has Demaryius Thomas at wide receiver, his stud, along with Rob Gronkowski, and then a decent offensive line with 2 6s. Jari Evans and Mike Iupati, nice center in the 5'7", Dominic Raiola, and then a weaker right side of the line. His defensive line is he has 1 really good player and 1 solid player. Damon Harrison, Snacks is his nose tackle, and Muhammad Wilkerson is the 6'10" outside linebacker.
Jets.
There you go. So he's like the Jets West with that defensive line. His defensive end on the other side is not looking so hot, but he'll bring in the 0-7 Malik Jackson on obvious passing downs. He's got 4 outside linebackers with a high pass rush rating. Whitney Merciless is a 4.12-1. Quinn Coples is a 4.7. And then he has a really good free safety in Eric Weddle, and D'Angelo Hall is a strong corner. After that, it's just 4s. So he's got some strengths, he's got some weaknesses. What do you think about Ed's team?
Well, NFL had kicked my ass for about a decade. I think I lost every single game I played against him until the match.
Spreadsheets, though, right? That was before the spreadsheets.
That was pre-spreadsheet, correct. Before this year, he's going to get mad at me. He's going to beat me 45-0 next time we play. Before this season, my spreadsheets were in pretty good shape. They were more advanced than they had ever been before. I've only been using them a couple of years. And also I learned that basically with NFL Ed, if you look at his stats, most of these teams in SOMIFA in the last couple of years, he runs the ball a tremendous amount of the time. I'm not saying he runs the ball 50-50. I have to look at his stats right now, but he seems to run the ball like 60-40. So, and if you've got Mike Glennon and Carson Palmer, that's probably not a bad idea. So I started playing heavily for the run, and I got very lucky against him. I did beat him early this year, 32-14, but it was mostly because of breaks, not because of spreadsheets. But the last couple of years, I played him very close, and I might have beat him in SSFA last year, regular season also, mostly because I just don't give him the run. I guess run, I bring linebackers up, and stuff like that. NFL Ed this year did have about a 50-50 split. Ran the ball 470 times, threw it 474. I like to call Mike Glennon the rookie Glennon. I don't know why. I just like that phrase. I don't know. I mean, Ed does it with mirrors a lot. He's a great defensive coach. He calls plays that minimize his turnovers. Jesus Christ, he forced 37 turnovers.
Wow.
Including 24 interceptions. So he was plus 14 in the turnover column. That's kind of amazing to force 24 interceptions.
Well, he's the master at double teaming, using his linebackers to make sure that he has his free safety double teams one person, and one of his linebackers double teams somebody else. He rarely leaves the linebacker zone empty. So despite all the double teaming, he's not leaving himself exposed as much. But that's where the interceptions are coming from double teams. I can almost guarantee it. Yeah,
well, that's why you got to make sure that you're willing to throw flat, even though he plays a 3-4. I mean, he does only go 4-4, 5-4 with those flat defenders, and you got to attack that right end, Jason Pierre-Paul. I think this defense is less well suited towards his brand of barrel ball than most of his previous defenses. Also, Paul's not going to be intimidated. Paul and Ed have played together for many, many years. They probably go back to those dice and card leagues in the 1980s that morphed into Oopsal or whatever you want to call it, the
Yep.
Autumn family of leagues. So, I mean, when you play NFL Ed, when you play this team, forget about him. When you play this team, you just need to make sure everybody can catch the ball. He's got outside linebacker 4s. If you've got a decent blocking back that can catch, he's got a strong safety 4 and a left corner 4. You need to run the ball power left. You need to throw flat passes, and make it hard for him to successfully double team you. Then you also need to make sure you're not giving him the run too much on the offensive side of the ball. Glennon only completed 53% for Ed. Hopefully you have something good at right corner and strong safety, because Demaryius Thomas and Rob Gronkowski have great cards. If you have something weak there, then you got to play the game where you're double teaming a lot, but also guessing run. And you got to mix it in, and that gets dangerous.
Look at that. Paul's secondary. He has 2 6s and a 5, but guess what? They're all at safety. So his starting cornerbacks are 4s, and he has a 6 strong safety and a 6. He has 2 6 strong safeties and a 5 free safety. So that's Troy Polamalu has switched to free safety, so he'll be able to start a 6-6 with a 5 coming in as the third DB.
Okay, so he's got now Paul's playing a 4-3 this year. I think he used to be a 3-4 guy, but personnel will sometimes dictate that change. So he's probably not going to double Gronk very much. Glennon to Gronk with a 6 defending, I think that's a pretty good matchup for the defense. And maybe you'll occasionally double him because maybe it's going to try and throw flat to Gronk. Gronk's got the great card, but obviously he's going to have to give right corner for Darius Butler an awful lot of help. You hate to double all the time with the free safety 6, but you can't have Demaryius Thomas running around defended by a 4 willy-nilly all game.
Yeah, Ed's gonna eat up Paul's linebackers. Paul's linebackers are 5'9" on the outside, a 4-0 Manti Te'o in the middle, and then a 0-5 Pernell McPhee at the left outside linebacker spot.
Yeah, you can see why Paul had some trouble on the defensive side of the ball during the season, allowed over 400 points. That front 7, that is begging someone to strafe him West Coast style. I mean, that front 4 goes 4-4-5-4 with a 0-4-5 at linebacker. You can go power right. You can throw flat passes. You can take shots at his corner 4s. So there's an awful lot of options there for an offensive coach. And Ned's got some flexibility there. I mean, DeAngelo Williams and Bilal Powell aren't too bad. I think you said his offensive line was pretty decent, like 6'5" at the middle. Glennon.
So you're going to get a lot of passes to the backs. You're going to get, he's not going to double Gronkowski as much because he's covered by a 6, but that's going to be a mistake because you're going to go flat with Glennon to Gronkowski and hit those +16, +17s on his receiver card. So you got to bring free safety help and double him, even though he's covered by a 6. You also got to think about when it's 3rd down and 3rd and 10, you've got to bring the house. I know that Ed's is going to go up top or try to hit the flats, but if you can put pressure on Paul's defensive line has an 11 and a 9, you couple that with a 3rd down defensive tackle like Clinton McDonald, maybe go 4-2-5 and bring the 2 linebackers up. You got to bring pressure on Ed, and if you can sack him, he's going to go after your 4 cornerbacks. But if you can bring him down, you can end some drives that way.
Boy, I don't know about that because I feel like you got 3rd and long against Mike Glennon. You double Demaryius Thomas, and you're not in bad shape really there. You're really not in bad shape there. He can pick on the other 4 with an inferior receiver. Mike Glennon short pass 4 men against a 4. Guess right, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. That's not a bad option for the defense. I think I'd rather live with that. I would worry that NFL Ed tends to play it close to the vest. You might get a low-scoring game. I don't want to give up a cheap touchdown or 70-yard gain or whatever on the bomb on 3rd and 7 or 8. But you're more aggressive than I am blitzing. Also, I never have any pass rush in these modern leagues.
Well, you might be right, and Paul may want to go a little bit more conservative. But I just know how I would coach. I would go for it. I would try to bring him down. Although he does have 2 7s and a 5 on the offensive line. That might make me think twice about bringing those bringing the heat with those 4 cornerbacks that you're going to have to leave stranded. So maybe you're right, but he's going to go after your 0. He's going to go after your 4. He's going to you need to double team wide.
If you double team, if it's 3rd and long and you double team Demaryius Thomas, and Gronk covered by a 6, a short pass to his other guy is covered by the 4 and whatever. It's not that great of a play for him, And of course, you mix and match. You're not going to always cover Demaryius Thomas, and if you leave your 3 linebackers there long enough, maybe you can eventually double cover with one, but you might pick on them for a flat pass. But Glennon Card isn't that great, and just I don't know, based upon my numbers, I would be okay with that. I think the other side of the ball is kind of interesting. You got Drew Brees for the Texans, right? And the running game is not that great. Kendall Hunter's got a pretty decent wrong card, but if I remember correctly from earlier in the season, he isn't running Kendall Hunter hardly at all.
I'm not sure if he has 100 rushing attempts. He's using Le'Veon Bell quite a bit. Let me look at them.
Kendall had 78 rushing attempts for the Niners, so you have.
He's only unlimited in 1/2.
Yeah, well, you get unlimited half. He only carried him 14 times all year.
Maybe he's saving him for the playoffs.
Well, there you go, secret weapon.
Hunter. Bring him in. Ed will listen to this podcast. He's going to call run when you bring him in. Then you go deep with Brees.
That's right. Well, actually, I'm looking at Hunter's card. See, Hunter had decent averages on the Strat file, but you look at that card, it's kind of ugly. It's kind of an all-or-nothing card. But the end run wrong isn't too bad. I mean, that 2-3, 11, 12 is a big run. Really, 4 and 5 is no yards. Almost everything else is 5 yards or more. 7 is +4. The end run wrong isn't too bad, and his worst right result is -4.
I would run him off tackle and in run and just go at it. I would use him up. I would use all 15 whatever carries there are before fatigue hits, and give Le'Veon Bell a breather and save him for next year.
But now, of course, Le'Veon Bell ran for 1,324 yards for Paul this year. He had a 4.2 average, and Paul likes the receiving element that he brings to the game. Hunter has a dreadful receiving card with a longest catch of 9 yards in the NFL. Le'Veon caught 92 balls for Paul. NFL longest of 43 yards. His running card, not that great. I had success, I think, against Paul because he couldn't really run too well. The flat pass right card's pretty nice. So that's going to be interesting. Mike Tolbert's a guy you got to watch out for in the passing game, I believe. Let me take a look.
Yeah, a great flat pass.
Jesus Christ, he caught 99 passes. So Paul completed 99 passes to Mike. Yeah, you might want to watch out for the guy that caught 99 passes. It's good advice right there. Not to Captain Obvious, but Mike Tolbert caught 99 balls for 805 yards. I remember he had a pretty nice flat pass card, as you mentioned, and Le'Veon Bell. So I guess he likes that 1-2 punch. You can even go pro set because Mike Tolbert has got a pretty decent little linebacker off tackle wrong card if you look at it.
Yeah. And Niall Davis has a higher fumble rate, but his card's not bad either. And he can catch a short pass.
Miles Davis?
Niall Davis.
Oh, okay. I got you.
The Kansas City backup. Although Miles Davis is kicking some nice grooves during the game, we can blast that while we're watching.
That's right. And now Le'Veon Bell and Mike Tolbert both covered by 4s. Not to sound like Captain Know-It-All, but
hold on just one second before we leave Paul's team.
We're not leaving his team.
He drafted Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
He has Jonathan Stewart coming back with a good card next year. He's got Denard Robinson with a good card next year. Quit bogarting all the running backs. And Niall Davis in case, what's his name gets hurt. Who's the Kansas City starter?
Jamal Charles.
Yeah, when he gets hurt, he'll have another stud running back. Paul, you can't draft any more running backs. That's it. Done.
And you know what Paul's going to do with all that running back depth, right?
Trade it to me.
No, he's not going to trade any of them. It's what he does with the running backs and the wide receivers. When I first joined the league, he had LT, and he had like 2 or 3 other pretty good backs, and he just kept them all. That was like vintage LT. The same thing he does with the wide receivers. Paul, why are you hoarding all these wide receivers? Finally, his team has dropped off, but a few years ago, he had Brandon Marshall, Steve Smith, and like 2 other guys that were like maxed out. They wouldn't trade him. Maybe Greg Jennings. Maybe finally trading Greg Jennings.
Step it up. Okay, let's get the predictions. I'm checking out here soon. So what do you think's gonna happen?
All right, I just got to say real quick. Drew Brees has a great card, 69% completed, tremendous flat pass card. He's got backs covered by 4s. Paul can move the ball well. I worry about Paul's defense. I'm going to go a nail biter. I'm going to go 24-23 Niners. Actually, Houston's home, so the short pass could be an issue with the interception. I'm going to go overtime. 24-21 Niners.
Okay. Remember, it's the new overtime rule, so it might even be higher than that.
It'll be on the third possession.
Okay, perfect. They go to overtime tied at 15. Excellent. Okay. So for me, I am going to predict NFL Ed will fall to Paul, and
Down goes Barrow.
the Texans will win 24-17 with a late bomb from Drew Brees to Le'Veon Bell. He's going to hit that plus 43 on Snake Eyes on a receiver card on a flat pass, and we're all going to go, what happened? And Paul will sneak away with a win.
You predict a bomb, and then you say it's a flat pass roll. That's not a bomb. That's a run and catch.
It's called a dump off.
Okay. Well, now you're adding. You're backtracking.
Come on, I'm being specific. This is going to happen. It's going to be a bomb. It's going to hit Le'Veon Bell's. It's going to hit the receiver 8 rating on the defensive card.
On a dump off.
On a dump off, and then hit Le'Veon Bell's Snake Eyes on a 2. Guessed right.
You know what? If that happens,
Here first.
If that happens, I don't think it's going to be Ed's cup of tea.
Or it's not going to be the cut of his steak, or his it's not going to go well with his evening meal with tea and steak, or whatever the heck his cup of tea is. So.
Indeed. All right. So next time we'll talk about the wild card results and the SOMIFA quarterfinal. And both yours truly and Dennis will be engaged in that round of playoffs, and we'll try not to be. I have low expectations for my team, but your team is a real legitimate contender. Jesus, you are plus 214 in points scored, point differential.
And then I get matched up with Buffalo in round 1, and he blows me out. So stay tuned for that, everybody.
We'll see. Well, no, maybe you're right. I haven't looked at it. It's late. Okay. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. And Dennis, post this in the SOMIFA section, I think. Don't you think so?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's do it.
You can put it wherever you want, but make sure it's in there. All right. See you later. Good night, Dennis.
All right, everybody, and good luck to all the playoff teams in SOMIFA. If we've talked bad about your team,
too bad.
We do not apologize. And if we haven't talked bad about your team,
we will.
Hang on. We'll get to it.
Exactly. So, what of the draft?
All right, guys. Take care.